So iFootage recently sent me their new SL1 400 BNS, and rather than talk about the specs and what great light it is and what great quality the light is and all the different things you could do with it now because it's by color and how much output it has, I thought what I would do is show you how to set up a really simple 1 or 2 light interview setup in pretty much any space that will give you fantastic results, even if you're only using one camera and you're working in a living room like this. Although this really isn't a living room, this is actually my studio, but we also use it as a family room. I'm also filming this on a completely different camera, so more on that in another video. But while iFootage did send this light to me, they get no input into this video. They're not sponsoring this video, and they don't get to see this video before it's launched. But I will say that I've purchased a few more of, not these specific lights, but other iFootage lights because once I started using them, I could not get past how color accurate they are and how clean the white light that they produce is. Now, the first thing you always want to do is decide where your camera is going to be, because that's going to determine where your lighting is going to go. Now, sometimes you don't get a lot of choice on that, but you always want to shoot from the shadow side, not the same side that the light is shining on. So in my case, I'm going to put the camera on this side because I want to be able to kind of film back into that area there and showcase that as sort of an out of focus background. Probably going to set the interviewer or interviewee, me, right there. So we've got kind of a way to shoot this way and a way to shoot over that way if we were doing a 2-camera setup. Most of the time when I do interviews, I use these, which are combo stands from Impact. They're really great because you can use them just like this as a light stand, but they also have this nice boom arm feature, which I use for audio and everything else, where you can pull it out and then suddenly you have this nice boom arm. But for the main light stand today, I'm using this rolling Pro Aim stand or Impact stand. There's a ton of different versions out there just because it's easy. One thing that's nice about all these iFootage lights is they come in these really nice cases that house everything and make it really easy to transport. Yeah. And yeah, they even come with a nice reflector dish, which is great. But for now, we're just going to need the cables and the control box. All the control boxes come with this little strap that you can hang it off of a stand with, and they're pretty quiet. The fans on them, the fans on the lights and the fans on the control boxes, I've never had an issue with coming through in interview audio, provided, you know, you're using some relatively decent microphones. One thing that's nice and is pretty commonplace now is that most lights have a wireless and an app control. So if you have all of the same brand lighting, it really makes it easy to have app control on everything. For this, you hit the BT and then reset. And then here you go to add a new light. And then it pops up there, Anglerfish 400 BNS, add that. And you can create groupings, you can create scenes. That lets you know that the light has been added. And then you can go in here and you have pretty much all the different controls you want. And the nice thing about this, because it's bicolor, you can go all the way down to 2700 or all the way up to 6500. So if we turn this on very small and maybe face it over there against the wall, you can see that 2700 all the way up to 6500. So really versatile, really nice. It's especially nice if you travel to areas where maybe you're not going to get the opportunity to control all the lighting and you just need to match what's there. Here's my setup. Because I was traveling so much, I could only bring one light because of weight and size. But so we're using the iFootage 400 BNS, which means it's bicolor. Perfect, because these lights are like 4100 Kelvin. We're doing headshots and interviews. So I'm using this, obviously, with the smaller dome from iFootage to key light, and then I'm going to use that sort of as a hair light. Now the next thing you're going to need to do is choose a modifier, because obviously you don't want to shine that light just directly on somebody. It's way too harsh, it will not look good, so you don't want to do that. And iFootage makes a couple of different options that I've been using. My preference is always to use this, which is a 36-inch softbox. Gives you some really nice soft key light. But if you're in a darker room where maybe the lighting isn't the best and you want the whole room to be a little brighter and a little more cheery, something like this, which is a lantern, can maybe be the right choice. So it depends on kind of the conditions you shoot in. But having a lantern like this just kind of pushes the light everywhere, blows the room up a little bit, adds some more light in general to the room. I do use this to, you know, make a room seem brighter than it normally is. I'll put it on another light that I have and just push a bunch of light into the room to kind of bring the whole level of the room up a little bit, while using this, the dome softbox, to put the light exactly where I want it and control how much light is on somebody's face. And the nice thing is, the dome softbox sets up really quick and easy. Oops. As long as I don't get my thumbs in the way. I do it this way. You can do it from the front side too, but this side works for me. So just like that, and it's ready to go. Now the front of all their lights have a regular Bowens mount, so any lighting adapters that are Bowens mount compatible will work for you. The other thing is, sometimes you just gotta move stuff around a little bit. Now that we kind of get the light set up and where we want it, the next is to set up where our A camera position is gonna be. Since the person I'm interviewing would be sitting here, aka me sitting here, then I'm gonna set the camera up right here, kind of next to this pole. And if I had a 2 camera setup, I would set the B camera up right over here on the other side of the pole to get that more shadowed side of the face in a little bit tighter shot. For the A camera, we're gonna set up my FX6. So I'd probably set it up something like this right over here with 35mm lens on it, because I like that focal length for the wide-ish shot for interviews. The person interviewing would be sitting right back in here. Probably do something like that, something like that. So let me show you what that looks like for the person that would be being interviewed. Right here, there we go. So the person being interviewed would be sitting here. I might tighten that shot up a little bit, talking to the person who's doing the interview right over there. Pretty good setup. Lighting actually isn't the worst I've ever seen. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. So now we just need to dial in where this light is gonna go. And this light is ridiculously bright. It can put out an unbelievable amount of power, but we are not gonna be using near that much. So you might be wondering why you need a light with that much output, because this light has a total power output of, well, 400 watts, but it actually is 480 watts, which is a ton. And in a room like this, where you have no windows, no outdoor anything, it's not really that big a deal. But if you do have windows and you're having to match the level of light that is outside so that you can see outside through the windows and not just have blown out windows, then having more power is absolutely crucial. That's where a 400 watt light like this, and the fact that it's bicolor, so it gives you all that flexibility, really comes in handy. Next, I'm gonna start dialing in how much light I actually need. That is a lot. And we're gonna match the room temp, which is about 4,000 Kelvin. So right in there, don't need anywhere near that much light. We're gonna probably go there, and then I'm gonna put the ND filter on this guy. There we go. So I'm gonna probably bring that up just a little bit. Yeah, actually, that's not bad. And see how I've got nice shadow on this side of the face? It's actually probably just a little too far over. Maybe bring it back around here just a bit and turn it this way just a bit. So this way, if I'm talking to the person who's doing the interview, it just has a nice amount of contour, a nice amount of shadow on this side of the face, very Rembrandt lighting. And because we have these overhead lights, it actually does sort of give me a good outline and give me a little separation from the background. Now that we've got the main light set up, what we're going to do is set our microphone up to make sure we're not getting any shadows over the face or anything like that. So this, again, these combo boom stands, really handy for this sort of stuff. The only thing is, because the room ceiling in here is so low, gotta be a little careful about how I pull it out. There we go. And then, like most stuff, you're wanting to get it just kind of as close as you can to the source without being in frame. So it's right there, it's pretty good. And then you want to point it generally kind of right at the center of the chest. So a little bit out in front, so if they shift forward, the audio doesn't go away. If they shift back, it doesn't change too much. And especially if they're wearing a hat, you don't want this to block the high frequencies. So that's when you want to keep it a little farther forward like this. And so this is what it would sound like with the microphone, person talking there, And this is pretty much exactly how I would do a really simple one light interview setup. It's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. We could probably tweak the light a little bit, get it set up really well. But this light being just one light and everything it's doing is everything you could ask for, everything you could need in a single light. And I did take this as my single light to a big job that I had in New Jersey recently to do some interviews and then film a bunch of stuff, and it worked brilliantly. Because I only had to take one light and because I had all the output I had, I was able to do everything I needed to do with it and not worry about if I could match colors or if I was going to have enough output. And because it's fairly small and lightweight, it actually also meant I was able to pack it with light stands and other stuff and not be overweight in my luggage. But could we improve this with one more light? Let's see what happens if we add a second light as a hair light in the back here. Now, generally, when you're using a hair light, you want it to be about 180 degrees from your key light, which is right there. So we're gonna set it in here and we're gonna try and boom it up to just up in here to just give a nice, what would look like a light in the ceiling. And then we're gonna turn all the ceiling lights off and see how good that looks. And for this light, this is one of the iFootage lights that I purchased. This is the 60DN, but it is 5600 Kelvin only. So we'll have to change our other light to also be 5600 Kelvin, which you can because that's what it can do. Look at how little that guy is. Little baby light. And this light, because it is so much smaller, has a mini Bowens mount to a regular Bowens mount, clips on like that, and then you stick this on your light stand. And it also has, you can power it off of a V mount, or you can power it off mains power. We're gonna do mains power because I wanna keep the weight on the end of the boom as minimal as possible. So we're just gonna do this, and we're gonna stick this out there on the end. So I like to wrap my cables around a couple of times, and then we're going to attach it right here. And this is the mini softbox, or the 26-inch, 24-inch softbox from iFootage that I purchased because they sent me one way back when, and I liked it so much that I got a second one. Really, really handy to have a nice little softbox, especially if you travel much. Sandbags are really important when you're doing stuff like this. You want to make sure that that light isn't going to fall over on somebody. And so I think I'm even going to clip one off the end here just to counterweight it a bit. There. I feel better about that. Let's set this up. Now that we've got that set up, I'm going to go back out here. See, I already had that one plugged into the app, so we could turn it up way too much. Probably going to start in here somewhere. I think probably right in there. Because that one is 5600 Kelvin, we're going to go in, adjust this one to 5600 Kelvin, just like that. Starting to look a little better. Probably dial this down a bit. Oh, I got to turn the lights off. That's why it looks funky right now. There, that's better. So now we've got the light here, the key light, which we'll turn off real quick. So you can see the key light. Hair light right there. So I think I'm going to bring the hair light up just a touch, maybe right in there, about 40%, 50%, somewhere in there. Key light comes on. I like that overall. See, now if the person's sitting here talking, you got a nice contour here. Might put a little bounce card here to just kind of bring up the shadows a little bit, but this is one light here, one light back there. And you already see, now you can see how the hair light might be a little strong, but it's giving me a little nice separation from the background. And of course I'm using a very wide open aperture lens to give me a little bit of background blur. One thing I forgot to add is that for the general rule of lighting, you want to be 45 degrees off the side. So if this is center, then the light should be kind of right there, not directly off the side, but in between off to the side. But that rule is to be fudged, like you should move it left, right, just kind of get it where you want it to get the lighting you want. But then also you want it about 45 degrees up. So not straight across from the person, not directly above, because you get weird shadows from the eyes and stuff. I've got mine a little bit lower purely because I'm wearing a hat and I want to try and eliminate as many shadows from under the hat brim as I possibly can. There are other ways to do that too, with a lower light or a bounce card or something like that, but just for this, for the one light, that's the rule. That's what you want to do. Now, a second ago, I mentioned a 5-in-1 reflector, which is exactly what this is. It just reflects light and bounces around where you need a little extra light. Just gives you a little bit of bounce. So we're going to throw this in here so I can show you what I mean by putting a bounce light or a bounce card in, or a 5-in-1 reflector. These are super cheap on Amazon, well worth having with you for shoots. So here we are without the bounce. And then if I bring this in, you can see it lifts the shadows on this side of my face just a little bit. Again, without, with. So I would probably definitely do that just so we're not quite so dark on this side of the face. One thing I'd mentioned is this lantern, which is useful in a dark room like this. So I'm gonna swap this out with a lantern real quick so you can see the difference between this, where the background back there and stuff is just really dark and not necessarily something you wanna do. This will help to just kind of fill up the room a bit more. And there you can see how much more light the lantern added to like this area back here. It just kind of adds a little more light. You like that? I mean, it's a very simple setup. It's a very quick setup, which is good if you have to work quickly. And the reason I wanted to do this video was not just to showcase these iFootage lights, which are absolutely fantastic. Once they came out, I pretty much stopped using anything else for any of my interview stuff because the quality of the light coming out of these is so good, and it's really hard to describe. It's very difficult to show in a video how good the quality of the white is, but it is just the purest, cleanest white, and that's the only thing I can say about it. But now having something in bicolor means it's like infinitely more versatile and useful, especially if you travel like I do to a lot of places where you may only be able to take one light with you. But next, you're going to want to watch this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below or join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights at 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we can have more of a conversation. I can get to maybe questions I didn't answer in this video. I'll see you again soon in the next one. Cheers.